Well, maybe.
So have you been to the 17? You stay? I'm staying way more
Because you don't want to do it. So when I think I don't know.
Yeah, it's a different place.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to a special call meeting, City of Griffin Board of Commissioners, April 30, 2019. We will open with the invitation given by Commissioner Holberg and the pledge led by Commissioner Holberg.
Heavenly Father, thank you for allowing us to gather today to represent the citizens of Griffin and Spalding County. Keep us united team for the betterment of this community and the vision of the greater Griffin and Spalding County. Do with this meeting those elected and not elected in your name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First, we will have an update from the Airport Authority representatives and discussion of new airport land acquisition, construction, and funding. Authority Chairman Dr. Randy Peters and Project Manager Bob Stapleton will address.
Well, thank you all for allowing us to be here tonight with you and to conduct a little business with you. I guess everybody is familiar with the new airport project in Griffin and Spalding County that has been going on, I guess formally in its current configuration since 2014, when the city and county and the airport authority signed an MOU with the FAA that outlined several items, but in essence, the most important, and you've probably heard about this, the most important part of that was subparagraph 12, which said that once we had attained $6 million in property, fee simple title, that the reimbursements from the FAA would begin. Well, I'm here to tell you tonight that we are there in terms of our obligations. We're not there yet in terms of having paid all those obligations. And that's what I'm here for you to talk to you about tonight. I passed out just a short kind of a talking sheet for you. We have two requests for you tonight. The first is that, and I'll go through these numbers, but the first is that we would request from each of the city and the county to make a loan to the airport authority of $165,000 as immediately as we can do it, and I'll explain why that is in a moment, but to be paid back by the proceeds that will be coming from the two parcels of the Kiwanis property that we're going to sell from the existing airport. And although we haven't even brought it up to the county commission yet, we do have the appraisal for the walking track, which we will be bringing up later separately. But from those three proceeds, it will more than pay back the loan that we're talking about. When you look at the top part of that handout I just gave you, the current obligations applying to the $6 million land acquisition. You have to understand that there are a lot of things that we have to pay for that don't apply to that $6 million, but this last few here will get us to the $6 million and will cause the reimbursements from the FAA to kick in. The first is the court finding that we just recently had. You will recall that we contested the Newsom property. It was a condemnation of the Newsom property. The jury came back with a verdict that was about $102,000 more than we had put in escrow. There's an additional $11,000 in prejudgment interest that accrues to that. So you see the number there of $113,429. Relocation expenses, we recently closed on the Huckabee two properties, AF10 and AF11, but they are entitled to about $65,000 in relocation expenses, and that is still outstanding. We have one last parcel in the Phase 1 of land acquisition. That's SEA 01 is the parcel. It's 18,000, as you see it there, 18,900. And we have one task order that is only partially complete at $27,000. All of those together make us reach the $6 million. That's the magic number to turn on the FAA reimbursement, and that's $224,000. We also have some other obligations that are not generally not reimbursables. Some of them are. Totaling, as you see there, so far we have not paid Becko and Murray, Croy Engineering, or the GSAMP LLC there. That's Bob Stapleton, our airport project manager. So all of those obligations taken together, the total you see, if we split that in half, that gets us the $6 million and zero outstanding obligations. That becomes more important in the light of the second handout that you have there. This was dated April the 12th. It was sent by email. We don't actually even have the actual postal letter received yet, but this is a proposal by GDOT, speaking for the FAA, with a tentative allocation of funding for FY20 for the new airport. And what you see there is land acquisition phase 2. There are about, I think, 15, Bob, about 18 parcels yet to be done for all of the acquisition to be done for the airport. That's phase 2. And then utility relocation, there are 2 power lines that go directly across the intended airport right now that has to be relocated. That $7 million is an estimate from both the Georgia Transmission Company and Georgia Power to move those power lines. The bottom line is it totals $13 million, as you see there, $13,612,000, and what they are asking for is our share of that to be $680,000, as you see in the document. That's our second request, is that you would take this item and approve us proceeding and writing a letter back to GDOT accepting this proposal, but with the proviso that rather than agreeing to the $680,000, that we would ask them to substitute funds already earned in our previous expenses that are reimbursable by the FAA, and to substitute those reimbursable expenses for that $680,000. Now, there is a risk that they would say, no, we don't want to do that. So why are we here tonight talking about this, and there's an incomplete plan? The first part of it is that they have asked for a letter whether we accept this proposal or not by May the 17th, but we don't have to contract until September. So we think that the best course of action is to propose that they take some of those reimbursements, apply it to that local portion, and then if they say no, we still have time to figure out what to do going forward. I do not have a proposal for you today that says, well, if they say no, what do we do? The upshot of not agreeing to that is there's $13 million that goes away. It conceivably could get put back in line. It could conceivably go away altogether. We don't know. The short version is that if we don't do anything at all, we're probably dead in the water. There's just no moving forward if we don't do something. So the bottom line, just very quickly, is our proposal for you tonight, as on the first handout, is that you would authorize a $165,000 loan, each, the city and the county each, to be repaid by the proceeds coming from those property sales, and that you would allow us to go ahead and accept the GDOT proposal with that proviso that we, instead of agreeing to the $680,000 up front, that we would ask them to substitute reimbursements for that. And that's really the essence of what we have to present to you today, subject to your questions. I know you may have several, but I sincerely believe, and I think we can demonstrate that if we don't do both of these, we're going to be pretty much stuck with the airport project. Yes, sir.
I assume, or is it safe to assume, that the $680,609 allocated to the state is going to be there? I mean, I don't think you know if you're right.
No, that's right. There are various methodologies that this project works under. Some of it is 10% us, 90% Fed. Some of it is 90% Fed, 5% state, 5% us. There are some components that are GDOT 75%, local 25%. We probably won't see many of those until later on in the project. Things like terminal buildings and fuel farms and that kind of stuff. We probably won't see much of the 75-25. And we're working on some other things to try to figure out how to reduce cost, how to maybe get private investment, those kinds of things as we go forward.
I was under the impression that the $6 million that...
Madam Chairman, that's okay. We're going to have to pass the microphone around just for recording purposes. I think the audience mic can hear, but for recording of the minutes, they want y'all to pass the mics around, please. They'll come off the stand, by the way.
I was under the impression that the $6 million that you were to spend up front was the match for the complete amount that we were getting, our complete match for the federal. Could you explain to me or to us?
Yes. Yes, certainly. And for those of you who might not have heard, the chair's question was, we thought the $6 million was the 10% for the whole project going forward. I don't know if the rules changed or if we misunderstood that, but the real issue is the $6 million is reimbursable at 90%. And so even though we have put up the $6 million, rather than them keep it, it will be reimbursed downstream.
So are you saying we're going to ask them to reimburse us a portion of our $6 million with the 680?
Well, it's actually for studies done prior to the $6 million. Such things as our airport location study, the original environmental impact study, the supplemental environmental, after that, the airport layout plan. Those are things that we've already paid for and are reimbursable at 90%, but don't really apply or impact to the $6 million. And so we basically have that on account, as I understand it. What we want to do is ask them to get that out front. Their plan is, in a 5-year plan, they have reimbursements coming in year 4 and year 5, and we want them to accelerate that. Yes, sir.
What are the odds of them saying no to the reimbursement idea, and is this is this normal? Is that how these normally work? Do they normally say, hey, we're going to get this reimbursement, take that when it comes, as opposed to paying cash and then getting it?
We're in kind of a special case, and the history of this project goes back well before I was involved in it. But the $6 million in a special MOU happened. Now, that is unusual, as I understand it, from airport projects. So right out of the box, we were in kind of a special condition. The way they have programmed the funding is we basically pay our $6 million up front, and then we pay our 10% as we go, and then they give us back the reimbursements at the end. We're asking them to change that. I would say that what you see here on the letter document from GDOT is more the way they normally do business. It works on a grant basis. You have a local share and a federal share, perhaps a state share, and the projects go forward like that. So we have been in somewhat unusual circumstance, but once we've made the $6 million, I think we get back to the regular routine. At least that's my understanding of it right now. Yes, sir.
Is the money from the walking track and Kiwanis Club going? Would that settle all the money?
Oh, more than, yes, more than. Just the appraisal values alone will more than pay that back. And there are other fees and charges, the appraisal fees and surveys and those kind of things, particularly for the Kiwanis Club, because there was no plat for either of those properties to begin with. So there are some other expenses that will add into that. But even notwithstanding consideration of any of those fees, just the appraised values of all three of those will more than cover this.
So when can we look to sell those two pieces of property?
Good question. And we had already prepared and submitted the first of those proposals. The issue is, because the existing airport is a federal program, 90-10, the same way we're doing now, they have a vested interest in the current existing airport property. In order for us to sell off a piece of it, we have to get permission that works through the staff at GDOT, to the staff at the FAA, to the staff at the U.S. Department of Transportation, ultimately to be signed by the U.S. Secretary of Transportation personally. So we had submitted that first parcel because we had it all ready to go. GDOT says, well, you're going to have issues going to the Department of Transportation 3 times. You need to combine the 3 of those. Well, I estimate that we're about probably 90 days from being prepared to have those other 2 parcels complete and ready to submit for release by the FAA. And then the processing time, once we submit it, is probably another 120 days. So we're looking at November, give or take, end of November, 1st of December time frame before we can consummate all 3 of those. Which is partly why we had not even approached the county commission yet about the walking track, because it was just downstream. But the letter from GDOT then makes all of that much more urgent.
So, Dr. Peters, my question is this. So they gave us this sheet, this little worksheet. So this is just $13 million. We were estimated told that the airport would be about $60 million. And if I misunderstood, maybe I did misunderstood, but I was under the impression that the $6 million was the 10%, and we needed to spend that first. So going forward, this is just $13 million. As allocations come out each time, we will still need to match that based on whatever the state and local match is?
Yes, as it stands right now, yes. We are attempting to get them to change that. Rather than reimbursing at the end, we want them to reimburse as we go. And it turns out the $6 million was a negotiated number that sort of became the 10% figure. It was never negotiated to be 10%. It just sort of turned out to be 10%. But since the entire $6 million is reimbursable by the FAA, so essentially once we've got that done, they owe us about $5,400,000. But it's a timing issue more than anything else. It's a timing issue.
But then we turn that money into more money that goes back in the next
Right.
phase, which they reimburse us. And then it goes back.
That's the way we want it to work. That is not how they have laid it out. And so we're discussing that with them, trying to get them to change that structure right now.
They don't change it.
If a very good question and totally valid. If they don't change it, we're going to have to come back at another time. Bob and I, the airport authority, are going to have to come up with a plan on how to do that. At the present time, we do not have that plan. That's why we're hopeful that we can get them to change what they're doing and make this substitution. If they won't make the substitution, then that's where we are. So, that's not our rules. That's the FAA rules, and we don't control that. So we will have to come back with some long-term financing plan, whatever that may be, and I couldn't even propose right now what that might be. But the other component of that, as I said, we're working at, could there be possibly private investment. The existing layout for the airport sits within the federal opportunity zone. I think there are probably some investment possibilities and opportunities there, particularly in terms of building buildings on the new airport, like the terminal building, fuel farm, the base operations offices, hangars for the folks who are in our current business park. At the end of all of this, we're going to have to buy out all of those owners on our business park because we will have violated every lease that we hold because they leased a building next to an active runway. Once we close the active runway, then we violated their lease. So there's a lot of complicated stuff yet to go that really didn't have anything to do with putting a bulldozer out there and scraping off a level place for an airplane to land.
In regard to staff and legal, does staff need us to vote tonight, or are you going to bring it before us at our next regular scheduled
Great question.
meetings?
I would ask the city commission not to vote tonight until we have a chance to look at some questions we're talking about between ourselves over here right now.
But it's got to be done before May 17th.
We have to have the response by May the 17th. And
The initial, Randy, if I understand you right, though, the initial 165 each, you need.
as quickly as when they do, yes, as quickly as it can be done.
So assuming that we get the okay from legal to pay that, I'm not speaking for William, from the city staff, we might can scrape up 165 in the remainder of this fiscal year. I'm much more worried about the 680 next
Absolutely.
fiscal year that
Absolutely.
I ain't got.
Right.
And you need to remember there's interest accruing on the judgment
Yes, every day.
as well.
On what judgment?
On the condemnation.
On the condemnation from the Newsom property.
Because we had some pre-petition interest and we have post-petition interest that accrues every day.
And as of now, you have no financial cash reserve.
Yeah, we have no, the airport authority has no source of revenue. We had the bond funding.
Spends everything.
Yeah.
Let me ask the city.
You need a microphone, Drew.
Yeah.
Can't hear you.
We can't hear.
Doug, she said she didn't hear
Mike
me.
out of the stand, you pass it back and forth.
Let me just ask the city commissioners, your next regular meeting is not till the 14th of May, which is going to be pretty late. Would y'all be willing to call a meeting earlier so we could at least respond to the authority's request? We'll be thinking about a date probably next week.
Yes.
Give us a date.
I don't know where
us
that's
something good.
necessary. To have a call meeting to respond to the
I'll bring
17th.
Kenny on a date.
I mean, I don't know that a called meeting is necessary. I mean, in order to give them the 165,000, we just need to do a budget amendment at the next meeting and tell you where it's coming from and give it to them if I can find it.
We want to look at
In order
our,
to,
just to,
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
we want to look at our thought.
We will make
sure we have the authority to either make a loan or a grant for that.
I'll just give it to them. I don't care about it.
Well, that's a grant. That's still,
No, it's just a budget appropriation, Drew. That's not a big deal.
It's no different from the money we give them now.
From the county standpoint, we can go ahead and cut the check if y'all approve tonight. And I've talked with Randy and them, and you know we are purchasing the Airport Road walking track property.
We are?
Yes, ma'am, you voted to do that.
I'll need to bring you back a budget amendment to tell you where this money's coming from. And then
No.
we can after that.
No, you don't, you didn't budget for purchasing the airport track this year, did you?
Next year. But
Okay, so
you all have
we-
agreed to it. I mean,
But we've never gotten an actual fee. The last time I heard, we were waiting for that last estimate to come back. Since that point, we've never gotten a number because I think we asked for them to do another assessment.
yeah, I emailed y'all, but I'll send you again.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying. You know, you can cut the check. I'm trying to figure out where you're gonna get the money from. It wasn't budgeted.
I'm just going to do an appropriation from fund balance. Take care
Oh,
of
you
it.
can't just do that without asking.
But what I'm asking is you all-
Well, that's what I'm saying.
You all to approve it tonight, and like Kenny says, we'll do a budget amendment in the future.
Then where you gonna get the money?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I get it. I totally get it that this is a situation that we're in. But, you know, just deciding you're going to amend the budget and add this much extra and come out of fund balance, you know, it's like squeezing blood out of a turnip to get money out of the fund balance. And we're just going to jump up and do this. We're not looking at the fact that this is just this amount. What about the other $300,000 that we're going to be asked to look at in 3 months? And then what about the subsequent $300,000 that are going to come down every time $12 million hits as part of a phase? I don't think this is something that we can look at and just jump up and say, okay, we're going to change the fund balance. Because, I mean, if we're going to take money out of fund balance, I want to have more of a discussion about it as a commissioner. Because we aren't, this is not something that we've been doing normally. Because if some other emergency comes up, we don't jump up and take money out of fund balance.
So the idea to have the FAA reimburse us as we go, if they say no to that, is there a way to get a public-private partnership and essentially run that same money sort of as a loan through a private bank or whatnot? Is there a source that we could?
I don't know the direct answer to that.
That same money out?
Yeah, I don't know the direct answer to that. We have been told that we cannot encumber the property by a direct loan that would then use that property as collateral, for example.
We do have property that we own, the authority owns, and we were told at one point by GDOT that we could encumber it because it's our property, and there is no FAA money that has been used to purchase that property. Recently, we had a meeting at GDOT where that changed to no, you can't encumber that property. I'm not exactly clear as to the true correct answer for that, but we have been in contact with some institutional lenders, and there are possibilities in the future. And of course, in the future, the airport is going to make money and will be able to handle these things on its own, but we're just in a position we didn't expect to find ourselves in right now.
And Dr. Peters, based on what I'm hearing you say, that if we don't act on these things, then we're pretty much at a loss anyway.
Well, that's right.
Okay.
The
We got to figure it out.
Yeah, the city, county, and authority are all signatories to the MOU with the FAA.
Okay.
And one thing that this MOU actually also says is that our failure to comply with the requirement and get a refund of FAA funds does not mean that we won't build this airport. We're required to build the airport whether we have the money or not, according to this MOU.
Okay.
Where you gonna build it on there?
It's going to take a lot longer to get done, I'll tell you that.
These them sit up there and tell us what we gonna do, because
I think
to me, the whole game changed the way they
from the city
started.
side, I think we kind of figured out what we're.
Microphone.
Get to the mic, please, yeah.
Talking through my phone. I said, from the city side, I think we've kind of figured out what we're gonna do about the 165,000. We're good on this side.
Okay.
But I don't know about the 680,000 in a letter on May 17th. That's what Drew said that the attorneys want to confer about.
Yeah, as far as the 165, I think, in just speaking with William, his idea was we do it as sort of a down payment towards Airport Park if we're buying it. You see what I'm saying? Like, as opposed to like a loan or whatever.
Oh, you're sure? Okay.
I don't think we have much of a choice. Down payment on Airport Park. On buying Airport Park. I don't know, but if it's less than 165, they'll refund us.
It's more than 165.
It's going to be more than 165. That's true.
Down payment on Airport Park, because we cannot obligate that property until we get FAA
I'm okay with the. I think we're gonna change the route, Randy, just a second. But the clerks over here who are trying to do minutes can't hear what people are saying because they're not using the microphones.
Okay, I
So
think,
they can't hear a word you're saying, they don't know what's going on.
okay, can you hear me? Okay, I think the county is now saying, we've got the majority that's saying that we are good with the 165. We may have one commissioner that's not. We've got two that's not. And we've got three that are saying yes.
Yeah.
So
Can I
we're
get a
good.
vote, please?
Three are saying yes.
Can I get a vote, please?
What was the million amount?
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
165.
165.
We bid?
If we're bidding, you're going to win. I move that we ask our county managers to come up with a plan to get the airport authority $165,000 as a down payment, as a loan, however it needs to be structured.
I'll second that. I will second that.
All in favor? Four? All in favor? Four opposed? All in favor? Raise your hand. Okay,
Why are you
opposed?
voting yes now?
Okay, 4-1.
4-1. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Well,
Done.
if I could clarify too, we are not asking you to commit that 680 tonight, just the other. What we're asking you for permission for the GDOT letter is to let us go forward and ask for that substitution. And if they come back with a negative answer, then we're going to have to figure out what to do at that point.
Okay, that's fair.
Madam Chairman Ward, I would make the motion for the city commissioners to go with
Our
$165,000.
city manager is saying it's not.
Use your microphone.
Well, I just said I would prefer to come back to you with a budget amendment to show you where it's coming from and where it's going, which we can do on the 14th for the 165.
Okay, I think we have a consensus to give the money.
Yeah, we'll come up with it. I just need to tell you where it's coming from. And I guess you can go ahead if you want to vote on Randy's request to ask them to give us a reimbursement for the 680. If I don't have a problem with that, since
Yeah,
it's on May 17th.
the other ask that we have for you tonight is that you allow us to give an affirmative answer to this letter with the proviso that we will ask for the reimbursement funds to cover that component.
I'll make a motion.
McCord made a motion.
Make it again.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that motion, Doug.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, let me know it by show of hands. 7-0.
I think we have to put it together.
Okay. Is that everything? Y'all need to.
So you're asking us, Dr. Peters, you're asking
asking us for the second vote. Dr. Peters, you're asking us for the second vote to allow a letter to go back saying that we will go forward.
Yes, but with the proviso, instead of agreeing to $680,000, that they substitute reimbursements we have already earned but have not been issued for that money.
But in real life, this letter is saying that we're going to go ahead with the project, that we're not wanting it to stop. Because, and what you're saying is that if we don't send the letter and we're not able to get the money, the project could essentially stop.
That's possible. It's far more likely that the funds would go away and we'd have to get in line to get funding again at some future unknown time. What we wind up doing is adding years and years to the project if we do that.
I think we need to make sure in the letter that goes back that we're saying, yes, we will move forward, and that we're not putting a condition on it. We would like to see them do it, but if they don't, because we don't want them to come back saying, we said,
Right.
We said that if they would do that, and that's not what I'm hearing them say.
I would be happy to defer writing that letter back to council and let them word that, as may be appropriate.
I mean, my concern from the city staff standpoint is we have bondage in the amount of $6 million, and us and the county are making annual payments on that $6 million already. So if you take that budgeted amount that we're making those payments, which are 300 and something thousand, and you add, if they come back and reject that, and you add another 680,000 on top of the 600 and something thousand that we're already making in payments toward the bonds, I don't know that I can budget. William may can, but I don't know that I can budget that every year, the next ever how many years it takes to build this airport on top of the bond payments we're already making. So if they come back with a negative to that request, I'm just telling you, I don't know what to do at that point.
Well, we have not proposed any alternative funding. We would have to study that. I don't know what would be the appropriate thing, or even what would be possible at this juncture without doing some more study on it.
We pay the $320,000 the city and county. That comes off the $680,000, which would be $340,000.
No, there's two separate issues today. $165 each for the immediate cost, for immediate usage. The $680 would be divided, so half each for that, presumably, if it came out of budget. We have not proposed any other kind of funding, which we would most likely have to do in some manner. Like I said, but we haven't studied that, so I can't stand here and tell you, well, we should do another bond, or we should do some kind of loan arrangement or something. We've not discussed that. I don't know the answer to that.
So my concern is that, as a county commissioner, what I see down the road is that we are looking at least an additional, other than this first possible $680,000, an additional maybe $3 million.
It's conceivable that it could go that way, yes.
If we go the entire $60 million for the cost of the airport, at some place, we're going to be expected over the construction period of this time, as this money is allocated, to come up with at least this amount. And this is a concern that I have, Kenny, it's just like yours. Where is it going to come from down the road? And I think it's a bad situation because we really, as Stephanie said, we're obligated to build the airport, but we're so deep in it already, we really cannot not do it.
Right.
So that's going to be the challenge. I mean, I think it's just a formality sending the letter back, because whether we have the money or not, we don't want to say to them, we don't want to go on with the project.
Right. Well,
what year did you say that they would start reimbursing us?
2023 and 24, Bob? 23 and 24.
And just for the record, I've been in a lot of meetings on this from the get-go, and it was always my understanding, and I think most of the staff's understanding, that the $6 million was our 10%. The only exception, the only exception was we had to spend that up front. But once we spent that up front, that was our 10%. Now, the way I interpret this letter, we spend that up front, plus you got to come up with a match every year in addition to that, which is not the way it was explained to me.
They're trying to get that $12 billion they want us to do to start. That's exactly right.
Song.
Well, and the reason we wanted to put all this in front of you tonight, we didn't want to have the airport authority come running to you, and I need $100,000 tonight, and then 6 weeks from now come down, I need another 300, and 6 months from that come down with another number. We want to make sure that you have a good understanding of what the real situation is on the bottom line. We do owe you coming back with some study on what possible alternative kinds of funding there might be, rather than just taking it out of the city and county budget. Like I said, we haven't researched that yet.
Okay, all right.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah, we didn't make our second motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you want to make a motion for the letter?
The city did, we did not.
I move that we allow the airport authority to respond as discussed tonight.
In the affirmative.
In the affirmative, as discussed.
Second. All in favor?
To the amount of money?
To the 165,000.
For the letter. For the letter.
To the letter. Two separate issues.
We've already voted over this.
Yep.
Okay, all in favor of that vote?
Thank you.
Thank you.
If there are no other questions, that concludes our presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next we'll move to discussion of future service delivery strategy amendments. Trudy.
Everybody's telling me I'm brave to be here. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for the honor of being here to facilitate this meeting tonight about your service deliverables, if I can say that. And one of the things when I facilitate, I like to create common ground. So one of the things I would like each of you to do for me tonight, and I'm going to make a list of them up here, is I would like you to tell me, why are you here, and what's a good memory that you have of Griffin? And I don't want you to say this because I was elected or it's because it's my job. I would just like to give me a reason. What's your purpose? What is it why did you want to become an elected official and be on this commission board? All right, Mr. Truman? Mr. Truman, you want to start?
What about the fellow just walked out the back door?
He's leaving. Okay.
What is this? What are we asking?
I am asking for you.
She's trying to bring us together.
This is service deliverables. Just tell me a good memory of Griffin, Truman.
The reason I ran is to represent my district.
Okay. And what did you want to accomplish?
The very best I could for my constituents.
Very good. And what's a favorite memory that you have of Griffin?
I guess my daughter getting married here.
Okay. Doug.
To make Griffin the best it can be.
Okay. And a favorite memory? Yeah.
I would have to say growing up as a youth in our community.
Okay.
I am still young. I went 3 for 3 last night.
Growing up. Okay. Holly?
Let's see, what was the first part? To serve my community, not copy and Truman or anything, but make Griffin the best quality of life for everyone.
Okay.
And memory for me, aside of being small, growing up and coming to Griffin, is raising my own children in Griffin.
Okay. Okay, Ms. Cora?
To give underrepresented people a voice.
Okay.
And my memory is, I don't know, somebody help me. Having this as a home base.
Okay, home base, it's home, okay? Good. Rodney?
To make Griffin better.
Okay.
And my memory is being born in Griffin.
He came out 25 pounds.
6 years old.
Okay. So I'm just going to leave him growing up. Miss Cynthia?
To give voice to the people that were being underserved.
Okay.
And probably my childhood memory growing up as a child here.
Lots of memories? Kick the can? Hide and seek? Okay, child memories. All right, Rita?
Okay, I'm looking at it from the business side of it, so it was the economic development piece of this that I wanted to.
Okay, economic development?
Growing it, from a business sense.
Okay.
And that goes back to my greatest memories when I decided to move here with the agency, State Farm. State Farm Insurance.
She's a good, all right, so do you want me to put good neighbor here up here? She's always here, that's right. All right, John?
Both economic development and, I ran for office.
Okay.
Economic development and for basically responsible taxation and property tax control. I guess my greatest memories, I've only lived here about 10 years, is I really was proud of the Honor Our KIA project in which I participated.
KIA project, okay. James?
Well, for me, I think I ran it's going to sound corny. It makes me happy to help other people.
Okay.
It was a chance to help as many people as I could in my community. And right along with that, I think my fondest memory is the night I received my Eagle Scout Award here in town.
Okay, Eagle Award. Gwen?
She's got both mics.
Now she's got both mics. She's here. Okay, so. Hi, Gwen. She got the double voice here.
I'm here because I'm here to serve. That's pretty much it.
Okay.
And the thing that I remember most, a childhood memory I have of Griffin is spending summers at Fairmont Park.
Okay.
Oh, I ran because I used to work for the county, and I wanted to see how they wasted all the money they took in.
I'm going to put here money spent. I think I'll make it that way. How about that?
Any way you want to write it.
Okay.
Other thing is that my children all live here.
Okay.
My grandkids live here. And I was raised here from the time I was 3 years old.
Well, you're just homegrown all the way through, aren't you?
Yep.
Hey.
But like a peach.
Like a peach. All right, Miss Stephanie. Really? Yeah, really.
You made your fortune.
I didn't run for anything.
But you're here for a reason.
I'm here because...
Wait a minute, that's not an option.
But that is why I'm here.
Okay. Honesty. Should we put she's here because of honesty?
It's my job.
Okay.
And my favorite memory of Griffin is when we had our first Archway Partnership Executive Committee meeting.
Ooh, okay, Archway. Drew? He's thinking.
I'm like Stephanie. I think I was forced back here.
I think you were Shanghaied, huh?
Shanghaied. No, I'm here to serve this community, and I've tried to do so for the last 30-some-odd years, I guess, since I've been back in Griffin. And I've got lots of fond memories of Griffin. I grew up here. It's my home. And still is.
That's awesome. All right.
Mr. Fortune?
All righty. Now, the next next question I have for you, what's the goal tonight for your service deliverables? What's the goal that you guys want for this meeting tonight? Kenny told me I didn't need to know what the service deliverables were, so you guys have got a free floor, please. Tell me what it is. Gwen.
My goal is to clear up some misunderstandings. My goal is to clear up some misunderstandings.
Okay.
Thanks, Laura.
Okay, somebody else, please.
My goal is for us to actually start some discussions that we have not had in over 10, 12 years.
All right, so start new discussion?
Start discussion, period.
Okay, discussion period. Okay, start the discussion.
I'd like to say more of a reasonable compromise. Fairness.
Compromise.
For me, I think it's, in any kind of service deliverable is to do it the most efficient and lowest cost way for the citizen. How do we save them money?
I'm not a proponent of consolidation, but I do support backdoor consolidation in regards to figuring out what services that someone can take responsibility for and do them better and more efficiently.
So collaboration?
Collaboration on the services.
Is there two L's?
Sounds more like collusion. I like it.
Oh, well.
The positive side of collusion.
The positive side of collusion, all right? Anybody else?
I was just going to be...
Microphone.
I was going to just throw out communication, which has kind of been stated.
All right, but we'll make it real clear, communication. Okay?
Give y'all If I can add one thing that I have not heard mentioned. I had the privilege back in the mid to late 90s to serve on the Georgia Future Communities Commission, which was the commission that actually recommended and saw the enactment of legislation that became known as the Service Delivery Strategies Act. One of the major tenets of that commission's recommendations was to end double taxation and to provide tax equity in the delivery of services. Since that law went into effect, I think in 1997, there's been some case law that's been decided that really deals directly with this tax equity issue. And I think we've been afraid in this community for the city and county to come to the table like you are tonight to talk realistically about that issue. And it's probably time that you do so. I would certainly recommend you to give it your best good faith effort.
Double taxation issue, okay?
There's history. There's several of us that have been here for over a decade, 2 decades, and then there are others that are new faces to this, so you haven't been through this process. So there's some feelings that are heard. Just to give you examples, there was an agreement that the industrial park would be annexed into the city in exchange for us supporting the SPLOST, which never happened. So the things that promises, handshakes, agreements that were made multiple times that just haven't worked out. So at times the city commission, to make things work, have basically bit their lip and moved on for the greater good of the community versus drawing a line in the sand and saying, we're going to agree to do this, or we're going to take our, kill lost tax, kill whatever, just for the greater good of saving face. So the newbies here.
So is that a goal?
No, it's behind me. I'm just trying to make what's better for Griffin in terms of whatever it is, whether it's merging a department, figuring out what's being double taxed, and what's being paid for in the general fund of the county that we're paying for as a city that might not, just looking at.
Okay, so what's the goal? How would you turn that into a goal of what you want for here tonight? Okay?
And I mentioned reasonable compromise for that reason, even though I was trying to figure out of that. That's exactly what I was.
Yep, so it goes back to the reasonable compromise. Okay.
Sounds to me like we want to rebuild those relationships.
We need microphone, please. Yeah, pull it out, guys.
You know, I'm the newbie, but to rebuild a relationship.
Okay?
And piggybacking on Stephanie's Archway partnership, I think because of Archway, our relationship has grown over the last 3 to 5 years where we can fight through whatever issue it is and for the greater good of the community.
All righty. Neil, anybody else have anything they want to add?
Yes, ma'am. I would like to.
There you are.
To be efficient. Time is of the essence, always, and that we don't lose sight of the citizen, the actual people who all of us are here for, that we are here to serve the public. It's not about the personalities of the city and the county and territories, but the public that we serve, the citizens that we serve, is the most important aspect of this. So and the Corps is going to smack me in a second, but I'm here to actually do some work, talk about what it is we're going to talk about. This process, I'm not sure where we're going with this, but a lot of times when we get together in these settings of city and county staff, and we do a lot of praising each other, but we never get to doing the work and actually talking about things that make us uncomfortable, and that's what the public needs us to do, is to start making some decisions, start saying things that need to be said. And if someone gets mad, then that's where the communication starts. But when we keep doing what we're doing, what I always feel like we never quite get where we need to get, because we're afraid to have that conversation. Doug and I and Ms. Ward and Ms. Flowers, we've been here for a long time, and we've been going through this same thing for a long time, and nothing ever happens. When it's time for something to happen, it's a discussion, it's kumbaya, and it's just time out for that. We are here hopefully tonight by 7:30. We'll get somewhere.
Is that my goal? That's my target? Okay. One of the things I would like to share, and to piggyback on what Rodney has said, when I went back to get my master's degree, I was in a cohort of 15 people. And the thing that stuck with me that actually helped me in really hard discussions, and I've done this lately, I've facilitated several hard discussions, is the definition of dialogue. And the definition that the mentor gave us when we went to school was suspending your own opinion in order to hear the viewpoint of someone else. And if we don't all agree to do that, then all of these goals and all this good stuff, which is the reason why I had us talk about the good stuff of Griffin, I wanted you to remember why you are here, so that we can actually have these results that we need to have for our community. Because until you guys are the leaders, you're the influencers. You guys influence, and it's sad that so many people said, Trudy, good luck. Because I don't like that with my commissioners. I'm a citizen, been here 37 years. I'm proud of Griffin. I'm real proud. So the dialogue right here, it is suspending your opinion to hear, actively listen to the viewpoint of someone else. So now, with this being said, right here, what are some of the issues? Let's just make a list.
Animal control.
Okay, number one.
Separate animal control.
Animal control. Okay, we're just going to make the list for now, okay? Number two.
Solid waste paid out.
Okay. Microphone, please, thank you.
Solid waste being paid out of general fund in terms of the centers.
Okay, I'm just going to put solid waste. All right. Microphone, honey.
For me, one of the issues is the fact that we have not discussed service delivery strategy. And the last agreement that we were supposed to have, we ended up going into what was it, extending the previous service delivery strategy and not accomplishing anything, not even meeting.
Okay.
The commissioners never even met.
Okay, well, we're here now, though, so how do
Never even met to discuss it. And what we've been doing is periodically, the county's coming to us to ask us to amend the service delivery strategy.
Okay.
When if we had already had the discussion, that probably would have been necessary.
Probably true.
So an issue for me is the fact that we have never been allowed, or for whatever reason, to figure out why we got to the place where we got.
Okay, so how about to answer that then, Cynthia, that there be a schedule of meetings or a schedule of timing? Would that answer the question?
I think, because I have had this discussion with Cynthia. I've had this discussion with Cynthia, and my understanding from our Board of Commissioners was that we asked one of the commissioners, it may have been Raymond Ray, or it may have been somebody else, and William to come to the city to negotiate about the service delivery agreement. That was done. Okay, so the next time that I heard anything about it was when we were approving it, saying that we were going to go with the same agreement that we had before. That's what was presented to us. What I understood later was that when it was presented to the city, it was basically presented to them in an untimely manner in which they didn't even have an opportunity to negotiate with us because it meant that we would all lose whatever tax we were collecting. So when she's saying that she doesn't understand why we didn't want to talk, we were never really told that the city wanted to talk to us. So that's, I just wanted you to understand that. Because if this is about having an understanding, I don't want you to think that as a Board of Commissioners, we made a decision not to talk.
You guys, and also remember, this is something that's happened, and it's happened from both of you guys, from both the city and from the county. But what I want tonight, though, you guys, we can't go back and change that. Right? We can't. But going forward, we can agree, because we do know that that's an issue for both of you, that you didn't have all the information and you felt like, right, the city felt like that they didn't have an opportunity to come together and it was all amended. How can we fix that tonight?
Well, you're not going to fix it tonight.
No, we're not, but we can at least put a line on it as far as schedule a meeting or do something.
Right, I agree with that, is that there is a timetable for how we meet, and in the nature of negotiating contracts, we decide to tackle one issue at a time and limit the discussion to that single item at that time.
Because we appreciate the issues coming up like that, because that's exactly what we need to know.
Trudy,
yes, ma'am.
I would like to come forward.
Sure.
Pass him the mic.
I just wanted to clarify a couple of things. The city kind of asked for this meeting. Can y'all hear this mic okay?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to clarify just a couple of things, and this might make it easier on Trudy since she don't understand service delivery strategy.
You told me I didn't need to understand.
No, you don't, and you're on the right track, but for some of the newer commissioners too, they might have a better understanding. The original service delivery strategy was negotiated in '99, and we have a copy of that, and it's been revised several times since then, but it's been revised in bits and pieces. The entire service delivery strategy has not been revised because at the occasions that it has come up for revision, the agreement was made to just go with what we've done, except in a couple of circumstances like the water territory, this last opportunity for the wastewater territory, and other than that, we just kind of blanket went through, checked all the boxes, and sent it back without really having a tight negotiation like this. In actuality, the service delivery strategy by law is not required to be renegotiated until 2022. But it's my feeling, and I've got 2 banker's boxes full of stuff, it's my feeling that we don't need to wait to 2022 because the 1999 that we've just checked the boxes on is totally outdated. Just an example, at least from what I can tell in research, did you know that the airport is a county-wide service paid for by the county, and the city and county only split the capital expenses? No, because we haven't been doing it that way, but technically that's what the service delivery strategy from 1999 says. And there are a lot of other issues in there. The county's planning and zoning is paid for 100% by user fees.
It is.
Okay, good. Code enforcement's paid for by fines and forfeitures.
It is.
Okay. Mine's not. So
Sheriff Department ain't paid by that either.
it was just the city's intent that we need to sit down and go through this thing. Did you know that, well, we talked about the 800 megahertz contract ran out last year. Did you know that the leases at the ball fields in City Park had expired? Do you know how many intergovernmental agreements, memorandums of understanding, do you know how many of those we have between all of us? And do you know how many of them have expired? No, some of them have. So it's things like that that we've just ignored over the years that have caused the whole service delivery strategy to go awry. And I don't think we should wait until 2022 to revisit all those things and get them all shored up. I think that staff needs to start going through all the MOUs, all the IGAs, every agreement that's in the service delivery strategy and bring it up to date. And that's where we're going to talk about having some serious conversations. That's where we're going to talk about pools and parks and recreation and solid waste and all those things that could or could not be double taxation. And that's going to be some hard discussions. And that's not anything we're going to solve tonight, but what I wanted you to know tonight was, at least in my opinion and my staff's opinion, this is a mess. Because over the years, it's pretty much been ignored, and we've taken me included, we've taken the easy way out. We went through, checked the boxes, and said, oh, let's send it back like it is.
I have a question. How is that divided? In other words, is there a certain section, so if we look at this timetable, like Cora suggested and Rodney suggested, and we take one item at a time, that you can divide that up and create a schedule, and you guys pick it apart at one at a time or not?
It's going to be a series of activities. You can put a schedule for anything.
Well, I'm saying, is it parks? Parks is, because we've already got these here, so if you added the parks and if you added is something different.
It's my opinion that we don't need.
Okay, that's what I want to know.
Initially to talk about solid waste and animal control and all those things until we really see
what
it says.
I totally agree with
over the years.
I agree with Kenny because the animal control contract that was originally created with the city, which is due to expire, basically says that the county has a county-wide animal control. But yet and still we have a contract with the city for animals, and the people that live in the city.
You don't. Well, you don't have a contract. You don't have a current contract.
We had a contract.
You have one.
See, that's what I'm saying.
You don't have a current contract for the shelter. In the service delivery strategy, the animal shelter is a county-wide service. The city provides a higher level of service with animal control because we have a citywide leash law different from what you have. So you provide a county service of animal control. The city provides a higher level of service, which we can do. and the shelter is a countywide function. That's the way the current service delivery strategy reads. My interpretation of what has and hasn't been changed over the years.
I mean, but you're absolutely right. These are the things that we need to look at.
All right, Ms. Cora?
Yeah, so what I was going to say is, I guess in general, as two boards, can we get a consensus that the city will direct its staff to begin looking through our stuff and that the county will as well, so that in terms of an action item, there may not be anything for the commissioners to do at this time, but we do need to provide the directive that that's how we want to proceed so that we can have discussions in the future. Whether we agree on it or not, there are some very clear things that if the contract is expired, it's expired, and we need to be aware of that. So rather than us leaving here saying, oh yeah, we'll do it, that we either make a motion or there is some agreement and some reasonable timetable associated with it. Obviously not in 24 hours, but if it's a month or whatever the case is, that you feel is comfortable for our staff and that William feels is comfortable, that when we leave here, we have something to look forward to definitively and not, well, we'll get to it.
I would estimate it will take at least 12 months for us to go through this piece by piece and get it all sorted out. And I haven't talked to William because he was out sick today, but I came up with the bright idea today that I was going to task Ms. O'Connor, and maybe her and Ms. Irizarry could kind of tag team on going through all these contracts and all these things and start at least putting stuff together for the rest of us to review. But it's going to take months, in my opinion.
Okay, I'm piggybacking on what Cora was saying, and I think that's a great strategy for have the staff kind of break this out and work this for us. But let me just say, I don't know how the other commissioners feel about this, but maybe we just didn't have a good understanding of what to expect tonight. And I think obviously maybe there was some breakdown of communication, obviously, because if that were the case, was it even important for us to even be here to make that decision? I mean, we could have probably did that in another meeting, I guess.
Yes, it was important. That's the same thing that we've been saying for years and years and years. We'll get to it.
I think we're in agreement that if staff works this, and then, like you're saying, whether or not we actually, it's brought back to the board, may or may not be, obviously we need to know, but I don't know, I mean, I guess,
You guys, why couldn't you set up then a timetable, again, going back to what Cora says, give the staff time to go through it, and then 6 months, because he says, right, Kenny, you said you think it approximately a year or so to go through the whole thing to get through it, correct?
It'll take 6 to 9 months to put all the pieces together, and then it'll take months and months, I think, of negotiations between the elected officials to reach some conclusion on.
So if you set another meeting then in 6 months, starting the first, at least one part of it, one section of it, whatever that may be, when you guys come together and go through those, would that work? Everybody in agreement with that? So then you guys can save us 6 months from at this point in time then.
Can I address the board, please, for a second?
You sure can.
When we did this in '99, the first thing we did was actually, there's about 25 or 30 services that you go through individually, page by page by page by page. Drew was the only person there then, me. I don't even think Fortune was, were you in '99? Okay.
Mike Ruffin.
It was Mike Ruffin, yeah. But we put out a report where we agreed that there are certain services that we're in agreement that nothing needs to be done. The courts and the general things of that nature, and get those out of the way.
Right.
And then leave the 6 or 8 that we really need to jump on and go for those. And while Michelle and Jessica are going through all the agreements, then Kenny and I and Drew and Fortune could meet and see about those that we agree are just the way they are. Probate court's the way it is, clerk of court's the way it is, and really no discussion about those, and then get down to the hard ones.
So if you set a target of October, you guys, that would be 6 months.
staff, do it for us.
Everybody in agreement?
That we set the date for the meeting in September.
All right?
October.
No, they'll set the date in September for an October meeting.
October meeting.
That way then staff still has a heads up, they've still got a month to work, okay? So that'll be in the minutes, so yes, Gwen?
So that I understand correctly.
Microphone, hey, microphone.
So that I understand correctly, Kenny is going to ask his staff, William is going to ask our staff to go through the service delivery agreements, look for any agreements that have already expired, any that are contentious. William and Kenny, in the meantime, will go through and look through the other agreements that are not basically non-challengeable, so that those will basically not be the items that we're going to be concerned about. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes,
we're going to be
that is exactly what you heard.
Kinda, yeah.
Then that way, what comes back to you guys is just the decisions of working out the rest of the service deliverables. Everybody's in agreement?
That was short and sweet.
Okay?
Can we have an agreement amongst ourselves that we don't get blindsided like we did with the Water Authority's request in regards to changing the service delivery strategy which caused this meeting? The Water Authority knew they needed our blessing, and they waited until the last minute, in our opinion, instead of coming to us and saying, this is our situation, how can we work through it?
You guys, you got to move forward.
Okay, so yeah, because the Water Authority is not here.
Yes.
To answer for any of that.
Right, we have to move forward. You guys have to make an agreement here right now that this dialogue right here is going to happen. That it's about what's best. All of you said that the reason why you're here is for quality of life and service. And y'all do a great job of it. We just need to push it forward and continue to push it forward and change the influence and the perception that a lot of people have about the commissions. And you guys have the power to do it, and I believe in you. So, in September, you're going to set at, respectively, the chairs, you two will kind of get together and set a date for October, and then William and Kenny and his staff will go through the stuff, as Gwen said, would you call them the non-challengeable? Is that what you said? Okay. And then the other things will come back to you, and you guys, as Cora and Rodney suggested, you pick one thing. Don't get sidetracked with squirrels to go through. Okay, anything else? Kenny, do you have anything else? All right.
We're okay.
William, do you have anything else? Okay, anybody else have anything for the good of the order?
No, thank you.
You guys get to dismiss them.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Do what now?
Motion by Hobart, second. All in favor, let me know by your hand.
All right, Bart Miller for the county and Gwen for the...
Motion from Commissioner Hallbaker from the county, second by Gwen Flowers.
There you go.
To adjourn. Unanimously, 4-0.
Congratulations.